I'm reading from today's A Gracious Space Spring, and I welcome you to Julie Bogart, Brave Writer, Facebook Live. Today is day 1, and the title is Be Interested in Your Child's Thinking. Be more interested in the thinking your child does than the thoughts he or she shares. For that matter, we might try this approach with the adults in our lives too. When someone shares a strong opinion, even when unsubstantiated by facts and data, it's easy to feel that it is your obligation to enlighten said person with the truth that has eluded them until they happened upon your smarter, more capable mind. A child is necessarily younger and less experienced with the world than you are, so their opinions will come from a different, more limited space. But those conclusions and thoughts are no less logical to the child, no less important, no less true in his or her mind's eye. I don't know anyone who has kept every opinion formed at age 10 throughout the rest of life. Kids, teens, young adults, heck, old adults routinely revise their notions of what is true, right, and good all the time as they add experiences, information, and relationships to their lives. Our job as parents isn't to safeguard a particular set of ideas or beliefs, no matter how much we may hope that our kids will adopt a particular set. Our job is to value cognitive processes that show our kids are learning to reflect on their thinking. We don't do this to manipulate our kids or anyone else into adopting our way of thinking. We do it to enhance the powers of thought that our kids are exhibiting. For example, when Johanna first became interested in animal rights, she wanted to find a way to make a difference. For her, that meant adopting veganism as her lifestyle. It would have been easy to forbid it, since I had to cook for 6 meat lovers in the family and her choice would be inconvenient. Or to combat it with my experiences. I grew up vegetarian and I knew that she wouldn't want to be one forever. Or to rebut it with my own set of facts about health. But what I could see in her commitment wasn't an opinion about animal rights nearly as much as it was an expression of how she took in impacting information and then applied it to her life. She was showing me that when she took something seriously, she would make a corresponding choice to back it with her actions. What an amazing development in a young person, to not just rant about ideas, but to put into practice a highly inconvenient lifestyle choice to back up her convictions. As a result, our family did accommodate this choice. In fact, 2 more kids chose to become vegans as a result of watching their sister live out this commitment. We had lots of discussions about how we make commitments and to what causes. It was not easy for my 3 vegans to understand my choice to not be vegan. Just my own lifestyle provided them with a chance to learn how to peacefully coexist with different experiences, thoughts, choices, and facts. Today, only one of the 3 is still vegan. Side note, she's actually vegetarian now. They have their new reasons for why they live differently today. These new choices show growth in how they identify nuance in their commitments and what they believe. As I suspected, their ideas morphed and grew, just like mine have, over a lifetime. When our kids become passionate about a belief, or when they are exploring ideas that may even seem uncomfortable to us, this is a chance to be supportive of the cognitive development happening right before our eyes. It's a wonderful thing to see a mind choose to think independently of the family culture, to branch out to find information, ideas, and commitments all their own. It doesn't mean our kids will stay with these ideas for good. Lord knows most of us shift identities and beliefs again and again throughout our lives. Rather, our children, teens, young adults are doing the hard work of becoming people who know how to think for themselves, using the resources, experiences, and reasoning skills available at that stage in the journey. All we have to do is buy soy milk, hummus, and earth-balanced margarine while listening intently to the passionate plea to end violence against animals. Quote of the day: "We have a saying in our house, accept all realities." Jill Mason Blake. I love that, by the way. Sustaining thought: encourage your children's thinking, and you will be supporting their growth as thinking individuals. How can you be interested in your children's thinking when it conflicts with your own? We're all interested in the thinking they do that we like, that we support. So your child says to you, "Oh, I think it would be wonderful to have a neat, organized bedroom. And I started reading about it online, and this is the system I want to use to organize all of my hobby collections." What parent isn't interested in that? Every parent. But what about the child who comes to you and says, "I would like to become a professional unicyclist"? Or your child tells you, "I would like to raise ferrets and train them." This is thinking young children do. They think by imagining activity, not just by having ideals and thoughts. Can you support thinking that conflicts with your value set? For instance, ferrets are smelly, and they're very difficult to care for, and they sort of take over your home while you own them. Do you know why I know this? I have a child who had ferrets, of course. We bought them from people who were exhausted from ferret parenting, and we brought them into our lives until we passed them on to the next victims. Ferrets are demanding pets, but we had them for a couple of years. Adorable. The most wonderful pets to ever hold in your arms ever. They just go limp. They're like that baby that just collapses on your shoulder. They just go limp, and they're cuddly, and they are so friendly and so funny to watch. I learned so much about pet care having ferrets tear up my son's bedroom. Honestly, it took a risk on my part to trust that the desire for ferrets would grow my child, his thinking, his capacity for caring, his relationship skills, his ability to be in charge of the life of some other being. Cognitive growth is what we're after. And it comes not just from having thoughts, but from implementing those into action. The choice to be vegan is the choice to think differently and behave differently as a result. So your kids are going to test you all the time. They're not just going to have theoretical ideas like, should we have freedom of the press? And then you just discuss it theoretically. No. They are going to challenge you by asking if they can live out that particular thinking. And you have the responsibility to recognize it as curiosity in action, thinking that is being backed up by that life choice or by those actions. And sometimes it's highly inconvenient. When my kids first said they wanted to be vegan, when Johanna first said that, I had a chorus of moms on this one website I used to frequent say, "Oh, I would just forbid it. That's too inconvenient." Because, 5 kids, that is pretty inconvenient. It's also a little expensive. But by embracing it, Johanna taught herself to cook. She became very interested in nutrition and health, and over time developed for her own sense of person a value set that guides her to this day, even though she's no longer a vegan. And I think it's important to remember that. It's also important for us to recognize that we don't have to do it all. When she made that choice, I shared with her that I would be happy to buy the ingredients, but I couldn't make all of the meals. So she became skilled in the kitchen out of her own motivation to have meals that tasted good. I helped out, I made some meals, but she had the opportunity to put her beliefs into practice. That's so valuable for kids. And that's what we want to see happen with our children. We want to give them the opportunity, right, to express their beliefs in action and then to stand by them. I know for me, when I look back to my teen years, I had all kinds of beliefs that ended up not turning out to be the fundamental beliefs of my life. I also have some beliefs from my childhood that were overturned in my 20s and 30s that I returned to in my 40s and 50s. You can't know today that any belief you have will last. It's a very disconcerting thought, but it's true. And the sooner we make peace with that, the sooner we're aware that some of the things we think we know are not going to last our entire lifetimes, the more willing we are for our children to take intellectual risks, thought risks, to explore a belief. One of the ways to hold beliefs that you don't like, that you've already decided are not good, is to be curious. You don't have to evaluate everything that comes out of your child's mouth. Sometimes you can say something like, "Oh, that's interesting. How did you come to that point of view? How did you come to that idea?" You know, your child says, "I think it would be great if I never had to do any schoolwork ever again." Instead of countering with, "Well, if you want a job, you're going to have to do it," or, "Well, I wish you had the luxury of that, but that's not flying in my house." What if you just followed that thought? Gosh, it would be great if you didn't have to do school work. Feels like work, huh? What would you do instead? What would your life be like if you didn't have school work? And allow the child to lay out for you their vision of their life, free of this onerous burden called schoolwork. What might you find out? What might you discover? Maybe your child says, "I would just like to do nothing." And then maybe you follow that up with, "That is such a great idea. Let's do nothing. Let's just go lay on our backs on the floor in the living room and do nothing. See what that feels like for a while." How long can a child do nothing? But what if you experienced doing nothing first? And you saw what that was like with your child. And then your child hops up and you say, wait, you said you wanted to do nothing. What are you about to go do now? "Well, now I want to go build with Legos." "Okay, great. I'm going to follow you over here and we're going to build with Legos." Like, what if you gave that belief an opportunity to live in your presence and be supported and known by you long enough for the child to experience it? When a child makes a protest statement like, "I don't want to do anything. I want to do nothing. I don't want to ever do schoolwork again," what happens if we indulge that, even for a little while? We start to help our kids moderate their thinking, because right now it's a protest vote. All they're saying is, "Stop bullying me into your agenda. I want to do what I want to do." And then we come back and we get combative. But if we could start with, "Gosh, I love that idea. I love having nothing to do. Some days I just wish I had nothing to do. Let's start right now." Wouldn't your child be shocked? And doesn't that allow that thought life to sort of expand for a moment? To feel the liberation of nothing for a moment when you've been working hard to live up to an agenda? So when I'm talking about thinking, it doesn't have to be a lofty goal like veganism or "I want to give up all my Christmas presents to the poor." You know, it doesn't have to be noble. Some of the thoughts your children want to play with look frivolous and silly to you. They're always inconvenient because they're thinking differently than you. "It would be great to never brush my teeth." You know? "Oh, I just want to play video games for 3 months solid." I mean, these are thoughts they're exploring in their minds. These are not just defiant choices against the rules of the family. They wonder what it will feel like. I remember when I was a young adult, I was first married. I got married at a pretty young age. I was 22. And I remember every night getting ready for bed thinking, "I can go to bed when I want. I can stay up as late as I want. I can go to bed as late as I want." I didn't have school in the morning. You know, I had a job, but the job didn't require homework. So there was this liberation feeling that just persisted for a couple of years. That was a great feeling. Who doesn't want that feeling once in a while? Did it mean I was a slouch, that I didn't have self-discipline? No, it meant I was a young adult exploring what time would be good to go to bed and get up for my job. And it felt great to be in charge of that. What 10-year-old doesn't want to feel that once in a while? When we're talking about thoughts, maybe your child has some thoughts that sort of scare you. Maybe they talk a lot about, building their own bomb. Well, what is that really? Is it just the thrill of explosions? Is it curiosity about the chemistry of bomb making? Is it because they watch a lot of war movies and now they're kind of fascinated by the munitions side of war? Instead of freaking out, can we go a little further into the thinking and ask good questions and be curious about it? Could we say something like, I kind of want to know more about that bomb thing. Do you want to look into it a little bit? Where is that coming from? Oh, we have been talking a lot about war. World War II has been on our agenda. It's true, bombs have changed a lot over history. It might be fun. Let's look at the history of bombs. Why would the government not want to make it easy for us to get access to bomb-making recipes online? What do bombs do? What are the casualty effects of bombs? What does it feel like to be blown up by a bomb, to lose a limb? You can explore it from a range of options. You don't have to just be limited to bomb making. But to deny it, to treat it like it is somehow wrong to have the thought, to be curious about it, to be interested in it, stunts the growth. All the opportunities for great conversation, for exploration, for tying it to these other areas of interest that would naturally arise if you could create space for it, that all goes away when you shut it down because you're uncomfortable. Back when Noah was pretty young, the internet was new. So online gaming, console gaming was pretty new. And I had never in my life, because I'm old, I was born in the 60s, so I had never seen a game that simulates killing people. Just imagine, I grew up without gaming. So I had never seen someone get behind a controller and look like they're in the first person role shooting someone. Completely freaked me out. Noah was 9, 10 when those first became popular, and he was hanging out at a friend's house, and the dad was playing the James Bond game. And Noah got on the console and started shooting. And he came home thrilled to tell me about it. And I completely did the parental freakout. Have you ever done that? Here's what the parental freakout looks like. What? Are you kidding me right now? Who let you? What was he thinking? Why are you on that? I don't believe in guns. It's not okay to shoot. Even theoretical shooting is wrong. And I just freaked out. And then I went to my husband. Are we going to be okay with this? What can we do to shield and protect our precious 9-year-old, 10-year-old child from this horrible violence? I don't want to turn him into a serial killer. The whole thing. Am I the only one who does that? When you see your precious child exposed to a world that you didn't want them to know about yet? When you're hoping that their highest ideals are helping the toddler down from the kitchen table, not getting behind a console and shooting up bad guys? So I had to grow with my children and with the evolving world outside my doors. I could not stop it from coming. We weren't Amish. We didn't live in an enclave. We were very much a part of mainstream America. And I had to make the choice to face it, to not run away from it. So I did. I read. I talked with people. I played the game, sort of badly. I'm terrible at console gaming, but I got behind the controller. I talked with other adults, especially men, because they have a different sensibility about some of those things than I did as a mother. And then books started to be written, and I read them. And when Noah was in 9th grade and I was still very ambivalent, and some days I was okay with it and other days I was still in not okay with it mode, we decided his first essay would be about first-person shooter games. And we did research together, and we read on the internet. And I even consulted a psychologist, if you can believe it. And I came to a different level of understanding about what was going on there psychologically, emotionally, theoretically, cognitively. And I can tell you today, Noah is as kind to anyone as any human could possibly be. Generous, sensitive, not a killer. But I didn't know that at age 9, and I certainly didn't know it with a brand new technology or a new gaming console or a new game. Part of our job as a parent is to be interested in the thinking, not just in the activity, not just in the adult conclusions about that activity, but what is the thinking leading to? Where is that thinking coming from? What is that child revealing to us through their choices and their curiosities and their enthusiasms? Because they're going to have lots, you know? Your kids are going to want to do lots of things. Noah took up urban gymnastics, parkour. Do you guys know what that is? That's literally climbing up on top of 2-story buildings and leaping from one roof to another and doing flips on metal railing down these big stairs, running and leaping and diving. He did this at 18. He joined a club in Cincinnati. It is dangerous. What are you going to do? He was 18. But it matched everything I ever knew about Noah as a child. You can't keep them down forever. Who they are will emerge. It will out. And so part of our job is to be interested in it, not to be frightened by it. To be interested in it, not frightened by it. And then, do your research. Get involved. I had to learn how to care for ferrets. We had rats. Liam's first pets were 2 rats. So I've done rats, a bunny rabbit, 2 ferrets, and a dog. And then I said, I'm done with pets. I live pet-free as a one single home owner person. Your task is to be interested in that thinking. When Johanna said to me, I want to host a Jane Austen style ball, my first thought was, well, I don't. I mean, I'd love to go to one, but do I really want to do what it takes to host an entire ball? But she wanted that. There was some piece of her imagination around Jane Austen that was not going to be fulfilled until she learned those 18th century dances. So we found a vintage dance group for her to join, and she and her brother danced every week. And at the end of the year, there was a ball. And I didn't have to host it. One of the women gave her a dress to wear that was authentic. It had, the undergarments and the thing that cinches up and breaks your ribs. I forget what it's called. And she got to do it. And she had the fulfillment of a dream. And I didn't shut it down prematurely because it was inconvenient. Be interested in your children's thinking. She didn't go on to be a vintage dancer. She exhausted that particular craving, but she took so much from it. Things that are invisible to me. I don't know all the things she took from that experience. I don't need to. I just know that she got to have the fruit of a vision that was living in her imagination, and that changes you. When you know that you can imagine something into reality, oh my goodness, what a gift. That same daughter is now living in Mexico. She's lived in South America for over a year. It's a year and a half now. And she funds her life and surfs and meets people. She came home over Christmas and said, I am so excited to go back because I know that when I get there, there are people waiting for me that I haven't met yet that I'm going to love. How does she know that? Because she has brought her own visions into reality so many times, she knows that's what's on the other side. This is what I'm talking about. Our job as home educators isn't just to cover the 3 R's successfully. It's to help our children know that the world in front of them is filled with possibilities that they can conjure into reality through their thinking and their action. And that when their thoughts come, they should pay attention. They don't have to edit them. They don't need to discount them or run them through the mom and dad filter. They can actually allow that unbidden thought room to breathe, develop, and become. And then they can participate in bringing some version of that into being. And yeah, if there's something that actually worries you because you see something troubling you, an eating disorder, an obsession with violence, of course you consult an outside source. You go to a therapist or a psychologist. I'm not saying to ignore warning signs. I'm saying that too often we treat, hey, I want to dig a 6-foot hole in the backyard as inconvenient, and therefore we don't pay attention to that desire. We treat it like it's not okay because it's just not something that interests us. That's what I'm talking about. If you want more readings from me, you need to go to the Homeschool Alliance. It's located at CoachJulieBogart.com. That is my coaching community. And I talk about a different subject every month. We discuss it at length, and we read additional readings from my books and discuss them in a Zoom cast where I can see everybody and you can chat and talk, and we have this great big conversation. So if you need coaching and you want a community to grow your own original unique homeschool vision, join the Alliance. That's where we do that. This month, we are studying poetry, and we are starting with Mary Oliver's Poetry Handbook. I Xerox a couple chapters. I post them in the Alliance, and then I do audio lectures and webinars. So if you're interested in learning more about how to enjoy poetry as a family or for yourself, this is a great month to join. Thank you for joining me today. A Gracious Space Spring is available in digital format through our store or through Amazon.com. If you join the Homeschool Alliance, the digital format for all 3 versions of these is free. And that's a pretty good value. In fact, it's worth more than a month's membership. So join for a month and get these for free. And you can even leave after that if you want to. Wow, 250 comments. Oh, heavens. That's incredible. Can't wait to read them. Thank you for joining me live today. Go forth and be interested in your kids' thinking. Support it, expand it, nurture it. Be interested in it. Be curious about it. Try it out. Give it some room to breathe and live and move and have its being. I'm Julie Bogart from Brave Writer. Live honestly, write bravely. See you in 2 weeks.